I often wonder if Mary and Joseph felt a lot of pressure. I think all parents feel a certain pressure when your child is born or an adoption takes place and you kind of bring that child home for the first time and you think, okay, it's just us. It's a lot of pressure, right? I'm in charge of this little tiny person. Well, it kind of raises the stakes when that little tiny person is the Son of God. Did Joseph and Mary feel pressure? Maybe not. But we get a little sense of their family life when, about 12 years later, Jesus is lost. They go to the temple to pray, as a good Jewish family would, and they lose him. You can imagine the stress, the anxiety of losing a child in that moment. We can imagine both their anxiety, but then also great relief when he was found. It's the life of a family, the ups and the downs. It's difficult to be a part of a family. It's something we all have in common, whether we're young or older. We're all a part of a family. And families are complex things. Families sometimes bring us the greatest joy, and times when families bring us great heartache or anxiety. It's the life of a family. At Christmas this year, we are giving out a little book. We have a few still left from Christmas, and the book is simply called Life is Messy. And we could plug in and just say simply, family life is messy. It just is. And we're given a little insight into the life of this particular family, this holy family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph that we celebrate today. And I just want to focus in on one particular line in the gospel today. We're told that after Jesus is found, after he was lost, we're told he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. He was obedient to them. That word, obedience, I think in our culture, at least here in the United States, doesn't have a particularly positive connotation. I think we use the word obedience mostly to talk about dogs. But obedience is a beautiful word when we kind of break it down. The word obedience actually comes from, for you Latin scholars out there, it comes from the word to listen or to bend one's ear towards. So obedience is not just sort of a blind thing. I tell you this and you do it. But rather, the word obedience comes from the word to listen, to incline one's ear. And I think that's an important lesson that we can take from this feast of the Holy Family. When we look at Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, what we can tell from their life, as little as we know about it, we don't know a lot, but we know that Jesus was obedient to his parents, which means he listened to them. Now, this is not only good in the relationship between children and their parents, but it's also good within marriages, among spouses, among siblings. How often do we really sit down and listen to each other? How often do we let somebody finish an entire thought? At least in my family, there were 7 of us. It was a battle to try to get a word in edgewise. You wanted to speak as soon as you possibly could. If there was any break in the action, you jump in. Very rarely, I'll say, did we let each other have a complete thought. If somebody was halfway through a sentence that we disagreed with, you jump in and you express your disagreement. How often did we really just sit back and let somebody finish exactly what they wanted to say? We don't listen well to each other. And I think it's something that's kind of plaguing the family of today. Many, many times, we're so intent on getting our own foot forward. We're getting our own argument in there that we don't really listen to what the other has to say. I think it's also true when we have someone in our life, especially in our family. It can be our own spouse, it can be our kids, it can be a brother or a sister, it can be a grandparent or an aunt and uncle, somebody that's in your life a great deal. And you find them kind of annoying. You find them to be kind of disruptive. You find them to, oh no, she's coming over. Oh no, we have to share a room. There are those certain people, right, in our life that we don't just get along with, that we don't always see eye to eye with. And I would say one that's going to happen, especially when we live in close quarters, that's going to happen. But when we really listen, when we try to bend our ear towards that person and try to really understand, why is this person like this? And why does it bother me so much? It may not fix it, but it will help a great deal in better understanding and getting along with that person. I have the great privilege of working with a lot of engaged couples. And one of the questions that we ask, basically, right, they're sitting on my couch, it's just the three of us, and I say, what's annoying about him? And they squeal a little bit and kind of get a little uncomfortable. And I say, no, come on, I know there's something. And then they say it. And usually the other person is like, oh yeah, totally. I'm totally like that. What most often comes out is quite interesting. A lot of times among couples, one is kind of messy and one is kind of clean. But it's annoying. It's something where we want to try to better understand. I see some of you smiling and giggling and nudging your spouse. And so is that the be-all, end-all of the relationship? Of course not. But what we can do, whether it's something kind of trivial like a messiness, or whether it's something really deep and serious, is to incline our ear to that person and try to understand why. We see it play out in the life of Jesus and Mary and Joseph. Mary and Joseph are anxious. They're scared. Where have you been? And then they listened. And Jesus says, I was doing my Father's business. I was in the temple. And by listening, and listening to understand, Mary and Joseph came to a better understanding of their own son. What if they didn't let Jesus finish? What if they didn't listen to him at all? My guess is they probably would have been mad at him for months and months. It would have been this kind of cancer within their family that would never have been resolved. But they asked him a question, and they listened. Obedience. It's my hope that here in our parish, or I know we have many visitors here today, wherever you're from, that we take from Jesus and Mary and Joseph the gift of just listening, asking a question, and then being quiet and allowing the other person to respond. This is definitely true among spouses, but for you children, teenagers, this is true of trying to better understand your own parents. This is true of trying to better understand your brothers and sisters. This is true of trying to better understand your grandparents or maybe somebody of a different generation. To listen, to be obedient. Finally, in our relationship with the Lord, we don't listen very well. We fill up our minds, we fill up our lives with a lot of noise. Some of that noise is good and wonderful, but a lot of that noise ends up crowding out the voice of God in our life. So my encouragement as we celebrate this Feast of the Holy Family, as we enter into this Christmas season, that we just simply do a better job, that we are more conscious more active in listening to one another and to the Lord. Merry Christmas.